In the shadows of the Caribbean, something unprecedented just happened. Earlier this month, the United States crossed a line it had never crossed before by launching a covert drone strike inside Venezuela. Not at sea, not in international waters, but on Venezuelan soil. According to a CNN report, the CIA carried out a precision strike on a remote port facility along Venezuela's coast, a quiet dock, hidden from view, believed by U.S. intelligence to be a key hub for one of the most dangerous criminal networks in the region, the Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua. American officials say the dock was being used to store drugs and load them onto boats for shipment across the Caribbean and beyond. When the drone struck, no one was there. No casualties, no warning, just destruction. And just like that, history changed. This was the first known U.S. attack on a target inside Venezuela, a move that could dramatically escalate tensions with President Nicolas Maduro. He is the very same leader Washington has spent years trying to isolate, pressure, and force out of power. Sources told CNN that the U.S. Special Operations Forces helped provide intelligence for the strike, highlighting how deeply the U.S. security apparatus is now involved in the region. But the Pentagon pushed back, denying any role in the mission. President Donald Trump appeared to quietly confirm the strike days later, almost in passing. He spoke of a big facility where ships come from, a dock, a loading point, an implementation area that in his words is no longer around, though he refused to say whether the military or the CIA pulled the trigger.
Can you say anything more about the explosion in Venezuela that you mentioned in a radio interview? Did the military do that? Can you share any more details about that?
Well, it doesn't matter, but there was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
This strike did not happen in isolation. For months, the U.S. has been pounding suspected drug trafficking boats in the Caribbean and Eastern Pacific, destroying more than 30 vessels. Trump has ordered blockades on sanctioned Venezuelan oil tankers, and behind the scenes, he has expanded the CIA's authority to operate across Latin America, including inside Venezuela itself. Officials publicly frame this as a counter-narcotics war, but privately, the message sounds far more political. Trump's own chief of staff, Susie Wiles, recently said the pressure campaign was designed to make Maduro cry uncle. One source described the dock strike as successful, but symbolic. One facility destroyed among many, a message more than a knockout blow. And that message is clear. U.S. officials are now openly comparing drug traffickers to terrorist organizations. The language has shifted, the tactics have shifted, the mission has shifted. These narco-terrorists are the al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, Trump's War Secretary Pete Hegseth recently declared, and we are hunting them with the same precision, he added. What began as a war on drugs is starting to look a lot like something else, and Venezuela is now firmly in the crosshairs.
The days in which these narco-terrorists, designated terror organizations, operate freely in our hemisphere are over. These narco-terrorists are the al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we are hunting them with the same sophistication and precision that we hunted al-Qaeda. We are tracking them, we are killing them, and we will keep killing them so long as they are poisoning our people with narcotics so lethal that they're tantamount to chemical weapons. And we're not doing this on our own. Throughout our hemisphere, our allies and partners recognize that these narco-terrorists threaten them as well. So we're working together, sometimes overtly, sometimes not, and we'll keep doing so for the sake of a safer, secure, and more stable hemisphere for all of us. But make no mistake, where a country cannot or will not do its part, then we at the Department of War will always be ready to take decisive action. In this hemisphere, in our hemisphere, there is no safe haven for narco-terrorists. Securing the border does not mean we're losing sight of other critical homeland defense missions. On the contrary, we're doubling down. One of the first executive orders signed by President Trump was for the creation of Golden Dome for America, a revolutionary approach to defend our nation from advanced aerial threats. And we're accelerating efforts on that right now. And Golden Dome will produce tangible protection for this country inside the time frame of this administration and beyond. President Reagan promised SDI, Strategic Defense Initiative. President Trump's doing the same thing. Now the tech is caught up, and we can actually build a Golden Dome for America, a game changer. At the same time, we're also rapidly strengthening our nation's ability to deter and defend against cyber attacks on Department of War and dual-use targets, including through the most comprehensive overhaul of U.S. Cyber Command since it was started 15 years ago. Nor have we lost sight of the threat of global jihadism. As with narco-terrorists, working alongside our partners in the IC and other agencies, as well as partners abroad, we will continue to hunt and kill Islamist terrorists with the intent and ability to strike our homeland. All of this, of course, rests upon the power of our nation's nuclear deterrent, which is the foundation of our nation's defense. Nothing else matters if we don't get this right, and so we will. As President Trump has said, we will modernize our nation's nuclear triad. We will develop additional options to support deterrence and escalation management, and we will never allow this nation to be left vulnerable to nuclear blackmail, even in a world where we face two other major nuclear-armed powers. And we will test nuclear weapons and nuclear delivery systems on an equal basis as others. Finally, the department's activities throughout the Western Hemisphere aren't just about killing narco-terrorists, they're also about deterring and defending our nation's instance against other threats in the hemisphere. To that end, the department will always provide the president with credible options when needed. That includes guaranteeing U.S. military and commercial access to key terrain, like the Panama Canal, the Caribbean, the Gulf of America, the Arctic, and Greenland. In all instances, we stand ready to work in good faith with our neighbors, but they must do their part to defend shared interests. Where they do not, the War Department stands ready to take focused and decisive action that advances U.S. interests. This is the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, recently codified so clearly in the National Security Strategy. After years of neglect, the United States will restore U.S. military dominance in the Western Hemisphere. We will use it to protect our homeland and access to key terrain throughout the region. We will also deny adversaries' ability to position forces or other threatening capabilities in our hemisphere. Past administrations perpetuated the belief that the Monroe Doctrine had expired.